Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you your team every single day. We've got a few stories to get through in today's video. Obviously, news about the old firm allocations that have now been changed from obviously each team expecting 2,500 tickets for the two. With the initial old firm has now been changed to absolutely nothing. We'll sort of think a little bit about that and talk through that one. Also, news that promising Rangers young player Thompson Ishaka is leaving. He is off to the Premier League. We'll talk through that one as well. We'll talk through as well the absolute debacle the board have again, just caused over the appointment of a marketing consultant, director, whatever you want to call him, who was a rabid Celtic fan and has published anti-Rangers stuff in the past. And then we'll talk about that anyway, and how it's just another example of this board not fit to lead. And we're also talking about Alex Lowry and what he could possibly bring to this team. Well, let's start off by talking through a little bit as regards Thompson Ishaka. Now, Thompson Ishaka, obviously very talented, very promising young player. Coming through the system, he's 19 years old. Obviously, was brought to Rangers. Seen as been a great future prospect, winger, striker, can play a number of different positions. He's quick, he's skillful. A top player. Apparently going to be a top player for the club. Played a number of times in the Lowland League, played a number of times in the B team. However, it now has emerged that Ishaka Thompson will be leaving the club this summer transfer window. He is off to Nottingham Forest. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's a little link there somewhere. Well, yes, there is a little link there somewhere. The director of football or sporting director or director of recruitment, whatever you want to call him, is Ross Wilson. Ross Wilson was the man who brought Ishaka Thompson to Rangers. It now appears that he's kind of trying to repeat that trick by taking Ishaka Thompson to Nottingham Forest. Forest are a Premier League team. Obviously, they are in the Premiership. Not a great Premier League team, a team that did struggle last season to stay up and, didn't play particularly well. So, news that he is off. He is, I think the reason why this deal is being allowed to go ahead is because Thompson is out of contract in 2025, end of next season. There has been no talk of an extension for him, or, if there has been, it's kind of, I think, must have broken down and not be happening. So, with that news and the situation obviously surrounding that, then I suppose it makes some sense to sell him. If you can't get him to sign a contract extension and he's going to walk for nothing next summer, then, at the end of the day, you have to obviously do that, don't you? You have to kind of protect yourself so you don't end up in a situation where, again, you are losing a promising young player for absolutely nothing. And let's face it, the trading model is all about bringing on young players and selling them. Obviously, no mention of the fee. I don't think it's going to be a massive fee for Ishaka Thompson. Obviously, won't affect recruitment, I don't think, because obviously Ishaka Thompson is not part of the first team squad. But it's sad, isn't it, that when a young, talented player who there was such high hopes for, when we brought him to the club, that he would go on to become a real star for Rangers, that he is now leaving and moving on to Nottingham Forest. A club that really is not a very big club. I mean, yes, in the past they were when Brian Clough was the manager. They won the European Cup. But, they're a club now that really does kind of yo-yo between the two divisions and really struggle to stay in the Premier League. So you've got to kind of question a little bit, the wisdom of this decision. However, if it is that Rangers don't want to offer him a new deal and can get some money for him, fair enough. But I want to bring you that news that Ishaka Thompson is off to Nottingham Forest. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Alex Lowry in a minute. And obviously that number 10 position, that tricky number 10 position that we seem to keep no matter what. No matter, what the thoughts are of anybody on this, analysts, fans, whoever. I mean, personally, I would like to see us get rid of the 10 position, bring in a flat 3 in the middle. But, we'll get to that. Now, there was a huge stir caused on social media earlier when it was announced. Well, it was not announced, but it was kind of leaked that Rangers had appointed a former Celtic marketing director as their marketing director. A person who well, let's face it, is a rabid Celtic fan. Social media posts from the past certainly were very derogatory towards Rangers. Showing him to be a absolute massive fan of Celtic. This is one of the cleaner ones. Blaine McConnell is called, proudly part of a week-long celebrating the club's 50th anniversary of the European Cup triumph, special times at Celtic Football Club, and there he is, obviously holding the European trophy at Parkhead. This obviously caused a great deal of outrage amongst supporters with the news that someone who is quite clearly very anti-Rangers had been appointed to a position within the club. Now, it appeared that this was initially not a marketing director's post. It was actually to do with a marketing consultancy designed at marketing the club and increasing the club's revenue streams and income streams. However, if you're going to market the club and you're going to do something to make the club look good, surely hiring someone who used to work for and work for our biggest rivals and pretty much hates us with a passion is probably not the best marketing strategy and probably not the best PR strategy by the board. I mean, let's face it, as regards this present board of, John Bennett, who, I saw a brilliant tweet earlier on X where someone said John Bennett running Rangers, stepping on rakes every day. I think that's about sums it up. I mean, the guy is absolutely useless. I mean, he really genuinely is. Since he's become chairman, we seem to have lurked. No, not lurked. We do lurk a bit. We seem to have moved from one disaster to another. I mean, personal opinion is that John Bennett should go and go now. Look, we need a CEO. That's a definite. We do need someone to be in charge of the club. We do need someone to run the club properly. Something that John Caveat Bennett has singularly failed to do absolutely spectacularly. And I think this latest appointment of Blaine McConnell has just kind of shown that. Then it emerges today on followfollow.com, and it's also on 4Lads and a number of other sources. Blaine McConnell has been dismissed. He was brought in on a short-term consultancy contract, but was dismissed after 2 days when his social media output came to light. Well, that was successful, wasn't it, Rangers? You appoint an ex-Celtic man, which you should have known would get you into trouble because of the fact that we don't like them and they're our biggest rival, and someone who has in the past, if you've done any sort of looking into his past, hates this club with a passion. You appoint him, and then 2 days later, you've got to sack him. I mean, it just smacks of absolute incompetence. I mean, it just genuinely does. And what's worrying, guys, is the fact that we would have paid this guy for whatever work he'd done over those 2 days, and now we've got to probably pay him some sort of compensation package because the fact we've terminated his contract. Again, spending money that we could be better spending on stadium redevelopment, on players, for heaven's sake. To me, it just shows again the board don't know their arse from their elbow. They really genuinely don't. There has clearly been no, definite recruitment strategy in place here. There has been no recruitment due diligence done over someone. I mean, surely, when you go to appoint somebody into a key role as part of a football club or as part of any business, you do some sort of background research into them. You do some sort of looking. And I know that even companies here will look into your social media, will look into your background, will Google you, will do some sort of search on you, to find out a little bit more about you. That's what they do. So they know they're not getting someone who's a complete psychopathic, raving lunatic or something like that, or has got some really dodgy stuff in their past that they haven't declared. I think this again just smacks of absolute genuine incompetence from Rangers board, and it is just pathetic. It is genuinely pathetic from the board again, and it is yet another example of them not being able to run a football club. At the stadium disaster, the stadium debacle that we've had, where we've had this other situation where the ground has not been finished on time. Now we've got this. It's just one thing after another with this board that just seems to go hideously wrong on a huge scale. It's I mean, you'd almost laugh if you didn't care about the club, because it's pathetic. It is real comic cuts. Okay, so let's move it along a little bit. Now, last year, obviously, I think we can all agree that the Old Firm games were decent games. Obviously, there's always that atmosphere there. There's always that hostility there between the two clubs. But not having away fans at the two grounds, I think, is not brilliant, is it? I mean, let's face it. The true essence of a derby is two sets of supporters having a go at each other, noise, the back and forth. If you look in England, I'm not saying for a minute these derbies are anywhere near as intense as Celtic and Rangers. Celtic and Rangers is probably the most intense derby in Europe. I mean, I think it's probably only rivaled worldwide by the River Plate Boca Juniors derby. Maybe Barcelona Real, I don't know. But, at the end of the day, the atmosphere is great when there is both sets of fans in there. Like I said, when you look at Newcastle Sunderland, you look at Villa Birmingham, you look at Spurs Arsenal, Man United Man City, Man United, I know it's not really a derby, Liverpool. The atmosphere is best when there is two sets of supporters there. Now, it had initially been agreed that 2,500 tickets would be made available by Celtic for Rangers fans on the 1st of September, and Rangers would act reciprocally by making available 2,500 tickets for the return at Ibrox over the festive period. Well, it now emerges after a statement by Celtic Football Club today that they will withhold the tickets from Rangers and will not allow Rangers to have an away presence at Parkhead. Rangers obviously have responded by saying that there will be no Celtic fans at that initial Christmas festive game at Ibrox, if we are back at Ibrox. I mean, obviously that's all up in the air. This was the statement that Rangers made. The allocation to be implemented by both clubs was clear, and Rangers was taking all steps towards fulfilling that agreement. In the meantime, we can confirm that no away allocation will apply for the January Old Firm fixture at Ibrox. This is consistent with the reciprocity embedded in the agreement reached between the clubs and the SPFL. Now, apparently, the disagreement comes over safety guarantees and work done to maintain that safety. Now, apparently, Celtic have put into place netting and other protection measures to ensure that objects are not thrown into the Rangers fans at Shark Head. However, Rangers have been unable to get through, apparently, or have not applied for permission to put in said netting and protection for the Celtic fans. Celtic board alleged that Rangers have not put into place adequate safety measures to guarantee the safety of Celtic supporters visiting Ibrox. So that's why they have responded as such. Now, look, there are clearly two schools of thought on this, as it is at the moment in time. I think thought one is very much that both clubs need to grow the fuck up and start behaving like adults. And stop this tit for tat, and stop this he said, she said, he did, she did kind of, response to things, in terms of like little toddlers. That's one aspect. The other, obviously, is that it does seem that this is part of a wider narrative by Celtic Football Club to try and obviously get the whole of one stand, as they have in the past. That seems to be what they want, and they're obviously used to getting their own way. We know that Celtic obviously do often get their own way because of the fact the SPFL and the SFA are in their pockets, referees are in their pockets. We know this. We know they're used to getting their own way, but realistically, we're never going to go back to that. The whole of one end. I think that is just utterly ludicrous. Putting out Rangers season ticket holders, putting out Rangers fans. Obviously, not as many tickets for Rangers fans for games. 2,500 or 2,750 or whatever it is, the European allocation that is given to European teams for Celtic Park and for Ibrox is far more realistic. And I think, no matter what your take on this, I think both clubs do need to take a long, hard look at themselves as regards what is going on. Put into place the necessary safety measures and sort of accept now that 2,500, 2,750, 3,000 is the most tickets you're going to get for a game. This is something that that all clubs who obviously face Rangers in Europe have to accept at the end of the day. If it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, even if it's the big massive English clubs like Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, they have to accept this when they come to Ibrox, obviously we meet in a European fixture. So I think there's a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and I do think that both clubs need to grow up and actually sort of sit down and actually get this sorted. That for me is what does need to happen 100%. But I think, looking back at that game on Tuesday night against Dynamo Kiev, I think we can all kind of agree that Tom Lawrence was bordering on just awful, just genuinely shocking. We obviously understand that Yanis Hadji's not going to get a game due to that wage clause. We understand as well that Todd Cantwell is on his way out of the club. Excuse me. We get all that. Alex Lowry obviously is still under contract. There's no talk at the moment of selling him. There has been some rumours as regards, he's been told to find a new club, etc., etc. Last night in the B team, he scored an absolute worldie where he cuts in from the left, goes running across the edge of the 18-yard, and then curls the ball right-footed beyond the goalkeeper. An absolute worldie, and played quite well. I mean, look, I'm not saying for a minute that Alex Lowry is the answer long term. I'm not saying for a minute that Alex Lowry is the be all and end all. I think Alex has a lot of issues. I think he needs to maintain a consistent approach. And I think when he has had opportunities, he hasn't perhaps best acquitted himself. He's kind of thrown them away a little bit. People have questioned his attitude, which at times is clearly not great. But Alex needs to obviously step up a little bit. And what kind of gets me is that Alex is in a position at the moment where, Tom Lawrence is fairly awful in the 10 role. Todd's out of the way, Yanis is out of the way. And at the moment, with the budget being as it is, where there is unlikely to be any major significant arrivals between now and the end of the transfer window, Alex has got a great opportunity to grasp that chance that he has got with both hands and show that he should be the man in the 10 role. I'm not saying for a minute that's the right answer, but what I'm saying is trying to offer an alternative that Alex quite clearly has an absolute bag of skills. He has talent. He has ability. I don't think there's any doubting his talent and his ability. It's about applying that and being consistent with the application of that talent and ability. Personally, I'd love to see Alex come through. He's one of our own. He's come through the system. This would be fantastic. And look, I mean, realistically, is he any worse than Tom Lawrence? Probably not, because Tom has been woeful so far. I'd love to obviously see Alex get an opportunity to try at least from the bench or something. Yes, he wasn't great against Birmingham, but that was a pre-season game. Maybe we need to give him another opportunity, because like I said, I'm not seeing a great deal from Tom Lawrence at this moment, which is really convincing me that he is the future of Rangers at 10. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the stories we've covered in today's video. Obviously, please smash that sub, help us to keep on growing. Thank you very much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. On the way out, please do two jobs for me. Number one, smash that like. Number two, remember always, we are the people.